what's going on, guys? It's Jay Mass, and I'm back again with another dope New England adventure. Alright, you guys saw the title of this video. You know what's going on. Yet another challenge video. Today, we're going to be trying a different Dunkin Donuts menu item in every single Massachusetts county, with the exception of Dukes County and Nantucket County, but we'll get into that very shortly. But yeah, we're going to be trying a different Dunkin Donuts menu item in every single Massachusetts county that has a Dunkin Donuts.
Massachusetts officially has 14 counties, and 12 of those counties have Dunkin Donuts locations. As I mentioned previously, the only two counties that do not have a single Dunkin Donuts location are Dukes County and Nantucket County, so I will be avoiding those ones. Nonetheless, I will be visiting the other 12 counties in the span of a single weekend, and I will order a different menu item from Dunkin Donuts in each county. Let me break down how this challenge will work. In each Massachusetts county, I will drive to a Dunkin Donuts location and order a single item from the menu. It can be a drink, or a snack, or a sandwich. It doesn't matter, as long as it's a unique, different item. So no repeats on this challenge. It must be something new each time. Then, I'll drive to a landmark of significant cultural or historical value within that same county, and relay some of the history to you while I eat my Dunkin Donuts item in front of it. Only then will I have captured that county, and I'll promptly move on to the next county and the next Dunks. Keep in mind that I will have to do all of this 12 times in a row, over the span of just one weekend. Now you may be wondering, J-Mass, why are you doing this to yourself? Honestly, I just love doing ridiculous New England-related travel challenges. This is a fun way to see what Mass's diverse counties have in store, and just how much historical significance this amazing state boasts. Also, if you know anything about Massachusetts, it's that Dunkin Donuts has a serious stranglehold here. They are quite literally everywhere, for better or for worse. Now look, I'll be upfront with you all. Despite my reputation as a hardcore masshole, I am really not the biggest fan of Dunks. I rarely ever go there. Also, and this might sound blasphemous for me to say during a challenge like this, but I hate coffee, and I never drink it. I know, put down your torches and pitchforks. I'm just not a coffee guy, so I'll likely be focusing on Dunk's other drinks and snacks. But who knows, maybe fate will tempt me into ordering an iconic iced regular. Sorry, I mean, an iced regular, kid.
So yeah, without further ado, why don't you guys join me on my journey to try a different menu item from Dunkin Donuts in every single Massachusetts county that has a Dunkin Donuts. So that is pretty much every Massachusetts county, excluding Dukes County and Nantucket County. But we're going to be starting here in Berkshire County. It's actually the westernmost county in Massachusetts. We're going to be starting here in Berkshire County and just working our way east. So yeah, join me, guys, starting here in Berkshire County, a new Dunkin Donuts menu item in every county that has a Dunkin Donuts. It's the most Massachusetts challenge I've done thus far. So let's do it. Let's get started.
Now I started the first day off in Berkshire County, the westernmost county in Massachusetts. Specifically, I was out in the city of Pittsfield, which is Berkshire County's largest city and its county seat. The county's name is derived from the Berkshires, a series of small mountains serving as a sub-range of the Appalachian Mountains. Anyways, as I wandered around Pittsfield's large downtown sector, taking in its many sights and sounds, I began preparing myself for the long day ahead of me, ready for my first stop at my very first Dunkin Donuts location. The first Dunks I visited was here in Pittsfield, just a few blocks away from downtown. It struck me as your average, modern-looking Dunkin Donuts with a boxy, minimalist aesthetic. However, this was one of the better-looking locations inside. I gotta say, right off the bat, that I'll always love the locations that have a glass display case with all the donuts on racks, visible to all customers. You'd be surprised by just how many Dunkin Donuts stores don't have this feature.
Alright guys, we're going to be trying the very first Dunkin Donuts menu item here at Herman Melville's Arrowhead home in the city of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, here in Berkshire County. Now, Herman Melville, of course, was one of the most famous American authors, and in this very house behind me, he actually wrote the book Moby Dick. one of the most famous American novels. So what better historical site to start the journey off than at Herman Melville's Arrowhead home? And this is where we're going to be trying our very first menu item from Dunkin' Donuts. That, of course, is a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant, which is my favorite sandwich to get from Dunkin' Donuts. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of Arrowhead and Herman Melville's time spent here. And then we're going to try the bacon, egg, and cheese right in front of Arrowhead.
This stunning yellow home, known as Arrowhead, was constructed as early as the 1780s, serving as a farmhouse and an inn. However, the home is best known for being the residence of famed American author Herman Melville, who purchased it in 1850. Melville lived at Arrowhead between 1850 and 1863, and spent much of this period writing. By far, his most notable literary work is Moby Dick, which he finished and published at Arrowhead in 1851. Although Moby Dick was not widely recognized at the time of its publication, it has since become one of the most famous American novels of all time, celebrated by many. Other works that Melville wrote here at Arrowhead include Pierre or the Ambiguities in 1851, The Confidence Man in 1857, Israel Potter in 1855, and The Piazza Tales in 1856. Several of these stories incorporate elements of both Arrowhead and the Berkshires within their text. Aside from writing, Melville also farmed while at Arrowhead and hosted another well-known Massachusetts novelist, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Arrowhead has been owned and operated by the Berkshire County Historical Society since 1975, open to the public as a museum, as well as boasting scenic nature trails and mountain views.
All right, guys, without further ado, let's get right into it. Menu item number one, bacon, egg, and cheese. My go-to order whenever I go to Dunkin' Donuts. As I said, I'm really not a massive Dunkin' Donuts guy, to be honest. I know, I'm from Massachusetts. I don't really go to Dunkin' Donuts very often. I don't even drink coffee. But when I do go, I get the bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant specifically. This one does look a little burnt, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Down the hatch, just as Herman Melville would have wanted. What can I say? It's an absolute classic. Is it as much of a classic as Moby Dick? I don't know. Still pretty good. Anyways, guys, that's it. Berkshire County in Massachusetts down. Our first stop. Let's head to the next one.
I immediately left and began driving towards my next destination, heading northward towards Franklin County. Named for founding father Benjamin Franklin, Franklin County is the least populous county on mainland Massachusetts and is very rural. As I coasted along Massachusetts Route 2, I eventually landed in Greenfield, the largest city and county seat of Franklin County. This next Dunkin' Donuts had a much more classic look and feel, sporting the old logo, with the warm orange, brown, and beige color scheme reminding me of the Dunks of my childhood. The inside was quite small, but cozy, and I quickly ordered my next menu item, eager to move on to our second landmark.
All right, guys, I am back once again. We're going to be trying out our second Dunkin' Donuts item of the journey so far. We're going to be doing that here at Poet Seat Tower in the city of Greenfield, Massachusetts, here in Franklin County. I absolutely love Poet Seat Tower. I've come here many times. In fact, last fall, I made a video covering several different observation towers throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts, and I did partially cover Poet Seat Tower. Definitely check that video out if you're interested in more. But before we get into the second menu item of Dunkin' Donuts, I am going to go over Poet Seat Tower a little bit, and then we'll check it out.
Poet Seat Tower sits at the very top of Rocky Mountain in Rocky Mountain Park, at an elevation of just above 400 feet, or 122 meters above sea level, soaring above the city of Greenfield and the surrounding Pioneer Valley landscape. Built in 1912, the tower is primarily built out of sandstone, replacing an earlier wooden tower that was previously built there in 1879. The tower is named in honor of Frederick Goddard Tuckerman, a local poet who frequented the peak throughout the mid-1800s. In fact, Tuckerman himself referred to the peak as Poet Seat in 1850, writing several of his own poems there. The tower is completely open and accessible to the public, and you can climb up metal staircases all the way to the top, offering sweeping views of the mountainous valley below. That being said, since it is winter while I'm visiting, the very top observation deck is closed, but it is typically open in warmer months. Still, Poet's Seat Tower is a historic observation tower that truly displays the rolling hills and scenic natural beauty of Pioneer Valley. That is, despite the rampant graffiti and vandalism covering the sandstone walls.
All right, so once again, we're gonna get right into it. The second Dunkin' Donuts menu item. In this case, I actually got the bacon, egg, and cheese wake-up wrap. I've actually never had a wake-up wrap before, but I know they're one of the cheapest items on the menu. So let's take a look. Here it is. It's in a nice little flour tortilla. As I said, it's bacon, egg, and cheese. My first time trying this. Doesn't look too bad though. It's pretty small. Again, pretty cheap. We're gonna be having this right in front of Poet's Seat Tower, one of the most culturally and historically significant landmarks here in Franklin County. Let's check it out. Not bad. Not bad at all. I think I actually might slightly like this better than the bacon, egg, and cheese croissant I had in the previous clip. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not too bad, Dunkin' Donuts. But yeah, Franklin County done. On to the next one.
I began making my way south towards my next stop, Hampshire County, which is situated smack dab in the middle of Western Mass. Named for the county of Hampshire in England, this county is best known for its universities, particularly centered around the cities of Northampton and Amherst, with the most well-known being UMass Amherst. As I drove down I-91, I eventually arrived in the city of Northampton, the county seat of Hampshire County. I approached yet another sleek, modern-looking Dunkin' Donuts, exuding a boxy look and feel. This felt like your average Dunks you can find in any corner of New England, so I quickly ordered my next item and left for my third landmark. By the way, this particular item was requested by my longtime girlfriend. I sent her a text on what I should order next, and she happily obliged by requesting something I probably would have never chosen, so shout out to her.
Alright guys, and we are back once again, but before I show you what I got for Dunkin' Donuts menu item number 3, which of course we're going to have here, we are going to be checking out another historical site, and that is what you see behind me, the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum, here in the city of Northampton, Massachusetts, in Hampshire County. Of course, Calvin Coolidge was the 30th president of the United States, one of many New England presidents we've had. And I've actually never been here before, but I've always been fascinated by the Coolidge presidency, which of course took place during the Roaring 20s. So we are going to check that out shortly, and then afterwards I'll show you what I got for item number 3 here in Hampshire County.
Situated near the campus of Smith College and located within Northampton's Forbes Library, the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum serves as a historical monument to Coolidge's life and career. Long before he became the 30th President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge had lived further north in Vermont, before moving down to Massachusetts and serving as the mayor of Northampton between 1910 and 1912. He later became the 48th governor of Massachusetts between 1919 and 1921, achieving national recognition for his handling of the 1919 Boston police strike. Shortly thereafter, in 1921, Coolidge became Vice President of the United States under 29th U.S. President Warren G. Harding. Harding's sudden death in 1923 immediately led to Coolidge being sworn in as the 30th U.S. President, and between 1923 and 1929, Coolidge presided over a booming U.S. economy and culture known as the Roaring Twenties. Coolidge is famous for being a hands-off, laissez-faire president, although he still passed sweeping reforms like the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924. His wife, Grace Coolidge, is also one of the most beloved First Ladies in U.S. history, serving as a female icon of the 1920s and the extroverted counterpart to Calvin Coolidge's more introverted personality. While small, the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum offers a wealth of knowledge into this fascinating yet overlooked historical figure, located inside a beautiful public library.
Alright guys, and for Dunkin Donuts item number 3 of the journey, we're going to be trying something that I ordered at the request of my girlfriend. And that of course is an iced matcha latte. I've literally never had matcha in my life. I don't even know what matcha tastes like. But this is an iced matcha latte, specifically a medium. And we're going to try it right in front of 30th President of the United States' museum, Calvin Coolidge. I mean, this is what Calvin Coolidge would have always wanted. A guy from Chelmsford, Massachusetts to drink an iced matcha latte from Dunkin Donuts in front of his museum, right? That's what he died for. Let's try it. It's not bad. I don't know, not really for me. It has a very herbal tea-like flavor. Not a massive tea guy, but it definitely very tastes like herbal tea-like. I don't even know. That's the best I can describe it. It's not bad. If you like it, more power to you, but not really for me. But yeah, number 3, and that is it for Hampshire County.
Once again, I hopped on I-91 and drove south towards my next destination, Hampden County. Named for John Hampden, a parliamentarian killed during the First English Civil War, this county is defined by the Springfield metro area, where most of its residents live. Speaking of which, I eventually arrived in the city of Springfield, the county's largest city and its county seat, as well as the 3rd largest city in all of Massachusetts. This 4th Dunkin Donuts was the first non-standalone location of the journey. It was located within a gas station, specifically a Pride gas station, which also contained a Subway. Gas station dunks are pretty common here in New England, so this was no anomaly. While this Dunks was small due to being crammed inside a gas station, it did still have a glass donut display case, which is already a huge win in my book.
Alright guys, once again we're back. We are going to check out Dunkin Donuts menu item number 4 very shortly, but of course I want to tell you where we're at, and we are at probably one of the most important historical sites on this journey, the Springfield Armory National Historic Site here in the city of Springfield, Massachusetts in Hampden County. Now, Springfield Armory is probably one of the most important military sites in early colonial American history. If you don't know, during the Revolutionary War, specifically 1777, the Springfield Armory was officially established, and it became the early United States' primary means of manufacturing firearms and weaponry. And a lot of the firearms that were used during the Revolutionary War and any time post 1777 were from the Springfield Armory here in Springfield, Massachusetts. Of course, we will get into the history very briefly, and then I'll show you what I got from Dunks.
During the midst of the Revolutionary War in 1777, then Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, George Washington, personally visited and approved the location that would soon become the Springfield Armory, America's first federal armory. Springfield was specifically chosen as the site of this arsenal due to its strategic location at the central point of several major cities like New York, Boston, and Montreal, as well as being immune to naval attacks from sea. Throughout the Revolutionary War, the newly established armory manufactured weapon accessories and stored crucial arms and ammunition. After the war, the armory continued to prove its significance in early American conflict and defense, from being a major subject of contention during Shays' Rebellion in 1787 to being the nation's foremost firearms manufacturer during the War of 1812. Perhaps the Springfield Armory's most pivotal role in American history was during the Civil War, in which the facility produced thousands of firearms and weapons for the Union, far outpacing the Confederates, and arguably contributing to the Union's overall victory. The Armory continued to manufacture weapons well into the 20th century, particularly during World War I and World War II, but by the start of the Vietnam War, production had begun to slow before being halted permanently. In 1968, the Armory was officially closed, later becoming the Springfield Armory National Historic Site and opening to the public. The site is defined by the iconic main arsenal building, a massive brick mill constructed between 1847 and 1850, with a dominating clock tower that soars above the city of Springfield.
And for item number 4, I got an absolute classic. Now I want you to think for a second. Although the official name now is Dunkin', what does everyone know this store as? Dunkin Donuts. Well, I had to get a donut for item number 4, and we got a vanilla frosted donut with sprinkles. One of my favorite types of donuts. In my opinion, what Dunk's really excels at are the donuts. Well, depending on if they're fresh or not. Let's give it a try. Vanilla frosted with sprinkles. That hits the spot. Probably my favorite of the 4 items I've had so far. I mean, the Dunkin Donuts, they do hit still. Can't believe I'm having a vanilla frosted donut in front of the United States' most important historical firearm manufacturing facility, the Springfield Armory. But that's where the JMass channel brings you sometimes. We've had some Dunkin Donuts items in some strange places today. But yeah, on to the next one. Hampden County, number 4, officially complete.
As it was much later in the day now, it was quickly starting to get dark, so I made sure to get to my next destination as soon as possible, which happened to be Worcester County. Worcester County is by far the largest county in the state by land area, and it's named for its largest city and county seat, Worcester. However, I would be heading to a more rural part of Worcester County, working my way northeast along winding back roads until I reached the small town of Rutland, the geographic center of Massachusetts. Without a doubt, this Dunk's in Rutland was the most visually unique of them all. This specific location is situated within an ornate colonial-style building with eye-grabbing columns, painted in a muted beige. Honestly, this Dunkin Donuts looked more like the home of an 18th century aristocratic banker than a place that sells mediocre food and coffee. But hey, welcome to New England. That being said, the inside of the store was pretty average.
Alright guys, before we dig into my 5th and final Dunkin Donuts menu item of the day, I do just want to state where we're at right now, and as you can see by the crumbling graffiti-covered ruins behind me, we're actually at an abandoned location. This is the Rutland Prison Camp, an abandoned set of ruins here in the town of Rutland, Massachusetts, in Worcester County. Now, Rutland Prison Camp is a fascinating abandoned set of ruins here in the town of Rutland. I've been here several times. In fact, if you want to see more in-depth exploration and history about this site, I do have a really crappy video I filmed here back in 2022, checking out the site in depth, so definitely check that video out. It's much lower quality than what I put out now, but I do just want to send you guys over there if you want more. But anyways, the Rutland Prison Camp, fascinating place. It opened up in 1903 as a small-scale prison camp, operating for several decades until the 1930s. As always, I will get into more of the history and details of that, and then let's see what's in the bag.
Located within the dense, rural woods of Rutland State Park, a few crumbling ruins of the former Rutland Prison Camp remain. Established in 1903, the state-run prison focused on housing minor, low-risk criminals like drunkards, and maintained a large 150-acre farm that the prisoners actively worked on. These prisoners harvested crops like potatoes, which were fed to other inmates within the prison grounds itself, and produced milk and eggs, which were often sold to nearby Worcester thanks to the plethora of livestock at the site. The property received a major addition in 1907 when a 30-bed tuberculosis hospital was constructed to aid sickly inmates. The prison camp would not last much longer, however. In 1934, it was officially closed down and abandoned, primarily due to being positioned within the drainage area of the then in-progress Quabbin Reservoir. Over the following decades, the site would suffer irreversible decay and disrepair, including severe vandalism. All that remains today are small concrete ruins, reminders of what once stood there. One of the most striking remnants left behind is a cell block, with several jail cells still intact and accessible. Another ruin is the vegetable cellar, which you can walk inside, feeling the cool air that once kept fruits and vegetables cool during the sweltering summer months. There are also walls, cellar holes, and foundations left behind, particularly that of the tuberculosis hospital. Thankfully, the Rutland Prison Camp is open to the public, but this has also led to rampant vandalism desecrating this historic property.
Alright, you guys know the drill by now. We're going to take a look at my Dunkin Donuts item, the 5th and final one for today. I did something simple this time, and I actually got a plain bagel with cream cheese. Are my expectations high? Not even slightly. And it's kind of fitting that I'm in a prison camp right now, an abandoned prison camp, because I do, in a way, feel like a prisoner for constantly eating Dunkin' Donuts today. My stomach feels like a prisoner, actually. It really hurts right now. All right, let's take a bite. Plain bagel with cream cheese. I've not had this since I was like a kid. So, well, from Dunkin' Donuts. Let's check it out. What can I say? It's a plain bagel with cream cheese from Dunkin' Donuts. It's the definition of mid. This is a very easy 5 out of 10. But what a great way to end the day off. Rutland prison camp ruins. Dunkin' Donuts plain bagel with plain cream cheese. And of course, that means Worcester County officially completed. I'll see you guys tomorrow on day 2. We have many more Dunkin' Donuts locations to go to, several more counties in Massachusetts. It's going to be a blast, and hopefully I start the day earlier tomorrow. Catch you guys later. I need real food.
I started day 2 off in Middlesex County, the most populous county in both Massachusetts and New England, and the county that I've called home for my whole life, having been born and raised here. Middlesex County is named for the historic county of Middlesex in England, and is one of the 3 oldest counties in the state. Specifically, I was starting the day off in the city of Lowell, one of 2 county seats, and the second largest city in the county. As I wandered around the beautiful brick-laden downtown neighborhood of this historic mill city, often referred to as the cradle of the American Industrial Revolution, I felt that I was finally ready to start the day off much earlier this time. My first Dunkin' Donuts of the day was also situated in downtown Lowell, and was simply your average small, boxy Dunks, although it was fittingly made of brick to blend in with the city's industrial mill aesthetic. I quickly stepped inside and made my order, eager to get started with my day, but also dreading the sheer amount of Dunkin' Donuts products I'd have to consume again.
Alright guys, it is officially day number 2, but before I tell you what I ordered for Dunkin' Donuts menu item number 6, I do just want to tell you where we're going to be starting off today, and we really are starting the day off strong, because we're here at the Boot Cotton Mills in the city of Lowell, Massachusetts in Middlesex County. Now, I'm very familiar with both the Boot Cotton Mills and the city of Lowell, as I actually grew up in the area, and I've been here many times. Lowell's often known as the cradle of the American Industrial Revolution, and the Boot Cotton Mills are a perfect representation of Lowell's rich industrial history. It was a complex built throughout much of the mid to late 19th century, and of course they had a variety of machinery and equipment that produced cotton and textiles and other fabrics. So once again, I'll get into the history and details of the Boot Cotton Mills, and then we'll get started and see what I ordered.
Officially part of the Lowell National Historical Park, the Boot Cotton Mills were a massive mill complex that produced textiles from cotton, originally boosted by hydropower harnessed from its on-site canal system. Named for Kirk Boot, an industrialist who played a pivotal role in shaping Lowell's early history as an industrial powerhouse, the Boot Cotton Mills were first constructed in 1835, although several additions were built throughout the following decades. Lowell's power canal system was paramount to the Boot Cotton Mills' production, as hydropower played a major role in powering the mills and their textile production. Later on in its history, steam power and, eventually, electric power would be harnessed as energy sources as well. Like many of the textile mills in Lowell at the time, these mills relied on a complex system of machinery, staff, and management that began with raw cotton and ended with finished fabric products. Originally, water wheels harnessed water energy from the nearby canals, powering massive weave rooms filled with looms, constantly spinning cotton into fine, fibrous threads, often staffed by underpaid and overworked immigrant workers, many of whom were underaged. These mills were several stories tall, with each floor containing equipment that was crucial to the textile making process. Boarding houses on the site provided living quarters for the workers, but they were directly managed by the mill's operators, requiring rigid and strict order from its residents. The boot cotton mills officially closed down in 1958 and were incorporated into the Lowell National Historical Park in the late 1970s. Today, Mill Number 6 is open to the public as a museum of this crucial era in America's industrial history, a period of time which built and transformed Lowell into the city it is today.
Anyways, guys, without further ado, let's get started. You know the drill. Dunkin' Donuts menu item number 6, the first one for day 2. Now, I ordered something I haven't gotten in many years. I know we got this a long time ago, and it is a croissant stuffer. Specifically, the ham and cheese croissant stuffer. Curious to see how this is because, like I said, I haven't had it in years, so let's give it a try. That is aggressively mid. Par for the course with Dunkin' Donuts, but what can I say? Eating a ham and cheese croissant stuffer in front of one of America's most important textile mill complexes. That's what happens here on the JMS channel. But anyways, guys, that's the start of day number 2. Item number 6, and of course, county number 6, Middlesex County. Nice.
I got back on the highway and began working my way northeast towards the next destination, Essex County. As the northernmost county in the state, as well as one of the 3 oldest Massachusetts counties, Essex County is named after the English county of Essex. As I switched from US Route 3 onto I-95, I was planning to visit the city of Salem, one of the 2 county seats, and a city made famous worldwide for the Salem witch trials of 1692. Like the rest of Essex County, Salem is packed with rich history and culture. This Dunkin' Donuts, number 7 of the journey to be specific, was situated directly in downtown Salem and had a stark white paint job with bold orange lettering, standing out despite its small physical size. This Dunks had a few things stand out to me. Not only was there no seating inside the store, but it was one of the only Dunks I've seen with location-specific merchandise. Also, another glass donut display case. Sweet.
And once again, we're back. But before I show you what I ordered for Dunkin' Donuts item number 7, I just want to show you where we'll be filming in front of. And as you can see behind me, we have a historic early colonial American home. Now, this house is known locally as the Witch House here in the city of Salem, Massachusetts in Essex County. Now, this house was once home to one of the judges during the infamous Salem witch trials, Jonathan Corwin. And while we don't know exactly when this house was built, we do know it was sometime between the mid to late 1600s. So once again, I'll get into a little bit more of the history and details on the site, and then we'll get started.
While the exact construction date of the house is uncertain, we do know that this colonial home was purchased in 1675 by Jonathan Corwin, a wealthy Puritan merchant who would soon play a major role in the Salem witch trials of 1692. After purchasing the home, which was still unfinished, Corwin took it upon himself to complete and finish the structure. By 1692, during which Corwin was a local magistrate, he investigated and oversaw much of the Salem witch trials, actively signing and enforcing arrests of those accused of witchcraft. He was also present during the testimonies of Tituba, Sarah Good, and Sarah Osborne, 3 of the first women who were accused. Interestingly, the accused were sent to Corwin's house before each trial for further investigations. After the trials concluded, Corwin continued serving in local politics, from being appointed to the Governor's Council to being assigned as an Associate Justice of the Superior Court. The house stayed in the Corwin family for the entirety of the 1700s and early 1800s, until it was purchased by new owners in 1851 and 1856, respectively. It was the second of these residents, George Farrington, who coined the name the Witch House, which boosted tourism and popularized the house. The building was fully restored and renovated in 1945, saving it from demolition, and it has remained a popular attraction in Salem ever since. To this day, it is considered to be one of the few structures in Salem with direct ties to the witch trials of 1692.
Alright guys, you know the drill by now. Why don't I show you what I ordered from Dunkin' Donuts, this of course being item number 7. And it's actually my all-time favorite order from the store. And that, of course, is a frozen hot chocolate. You heard me right, a frozen hot chocolate. It's like a hot chocolate, but instead of being hot, it's cold. a frozen hot chocolate. You get the point. This is my all-time favorite Dunkin' Donuts order. Anytime I go to Dunkin' Donuts, this is honestly what I get. As you can see, it's very sugary, filled with chocolate syrup, whipped cream, mocha, and all that stuff, but it's pretty damn good. And it's starting to snow in, which is perfect timing for a frozen hot chocolate. Let's give it a try. Wow. You know, if it was 1692 and I was in the Salem witch trials, I think Jonathan Corwin would have locked me up, because there's no way someone would have a drink this fire back then. You know what I'm saying? So this is easily the best thing I've had in the journey thus far. It probably will continue to be the best thing I've had. But yeah, the frozen hot chocolate, item number 7, and of course, county number 7 being Essex County. All right, guys, on to the next one.
As I was leaving Salem, I was shocked to see just how snowy it was getting, but despite the sudden winter conditions, I persevered and continued onwards towards Suffolk County, our next stop. Suffolk County is an interesting one. Named for the English county of Suffolk, it is the second smallest county by land area in Massachusetts, only consisting of 4 total cities. By far the largest city in Suffolk County is Boston, which is not only the county seat, but the capital city of Massachusetts. Obviously, with Boston being the most significant city in the state, there were a plethora of historical sites for me to choose from. However, I made a last-minute decision to film in front of one of Boston's lesser-known, yet still pivotal, attractions. On the way there, I stopped at our 8th Dunkin' Donuts in Charlestown, which also happened to be the first one in a strip mall. If you're familiar with Dunks here in Mass, you'll know that most are located in strip malls. Anyways, I quickly headed inside and grabbed my order, once again mesmerized by the donut display case.
All right, once again, before I show you guys menu item number 8, I do just want to show you where I'll be filming this segment in front of, and that of course is the iconic USS Constitution here in the neighborhood of Charlestown in the city of Boston, Massachusetts, in Suffolk County. Now, also known as Old Ironsides, the USS Constitution is most famous for its time during the War of 1812. It's actually the oldest active and commissioned naval ship, not just in the United States, but in the world. And to this day, it's actually in an active Navy yard, the Charlestown Navy Yard. So as always, I'll go over the history and details of the USS Constitution, aka Old Ironsides, and then we'll get right into what I ordered.
Located within the Charlestown Navy Yard, itself one of the U.S. Navy's oldest shipbuilding facilities, the USS Constitution is the oldest commissioned warship in the world. Construction on the ship was prompted by the Naval Act of 1794, and she was built here in Boston before being officially launched in 1797. The USS Constitution, which is a 3-masted, wooden-hulled heavy frigate, first served engagements during the Quasi War against France between 1798 and 1800, and the First Barbary War between 1801 and 1805 against Barbary pirates. However, her most notable glory came during the War of 1812, when she defeated and captured 5 British warships in battle. It was during this time when she earned the now iconic nickname Old Ironsides during the capture of the HMS Guerriere, a name derived from the ship's strong oak hull that seemingly deflected cannonball fire. This prompted poet Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. to write the poem Old Ironsides in 1830, popularizing the story with the public and solidifying her legacy. This also saved the Constitution from being scrapped, and as such, the ship continued to serve the Navy on worldwide duties and missions. Although the Constitution was officially retired from active service in 1881 and has effectively been designated a museum ship since 1907, she is still a fully commissioned and staffed warship of the U.S. Navy and occasionally embarks on seafaring tours nationwide. The USS Constitution is open to the public today, although you must go through security as it's located in an active Navy yard. There is also a museum and visitor center, both of which are free and offer more history on the subject.
All right, guys, so I'm actually not allowed to bring food in there because it's technically an active Navy yard and I have to go through security. So I figured I'd film the scene beforehand outside of the Navy yard. You can see Old Ironsides right through the gate there. But anyways, I'm gonna show you what I ordered for Dunkin' Donuts menu item number 8, and that is a very fitting Boston cream donut. I mean, think about it. I'm in the city of Boston. I had to get a Boston cream donut. And this, of course, is my personal favorite donut. Whenever I'm at Dunkin's, this is my go-to donut choice. The Boston cream donut, again, fitting here in Boston. I already know how it is, but let's give it a try. It's a classic. The Boston cream donut at Dunk's, right outside of the USS Constitution. Pretty good. Okay, now I'm actually gonna head inside and do all that stuff. Anyways, that is Suffolk County. Catch you guys on the next one.
Unfortunately, the snow was still going strong, but nonetheless, I continued on south towards my next county, which was Norfolk County. Named for the English county of Norfolk, Norfolk County is the only Massachusetts county with exclaves. Specifically, there are 2 exclaves for the towns of Cohasset and Brookline. The county seat is the town of Dedham, but its largest city is Quincy, where I'm currently headed. Anyways, I continued on I-93 before hopping onto Quincy Shore Drive, working my way to the next stop. Now this next Dunkin Donuts is no ordinary Dunkin Donuts, and it deserves detailing a bit of history of its own. What you're seeing is the original Dunkin Donuts location, founded here in Quincy by Bill Rosenberg. Originally known as Open Kettle in 1948, Rosenberg changed the name to Dunkin Donuts in 1950, prompted by his understanding of coffee and donuts being 2 of the most popular breakfast items sold to blue-collar workers. By 1955, Rosenberg was franchising the restaurant, resulting in rapid growth and expansion by the 1960s. Fast forward several successful decades into the future, and in 2019, the chain officially renamed itself to Dunkin', although nobody I know calls it that. As of 2026, there are well over 14,000 Dunks worldwide, with nearly 10,000 here in the US alone. And here in Quincy, on 543 Southern Artery, Bill Rosenberg's original Dunkin Donuts from all those years back still stands, adorned in a retro design and featuring several small exhibits of the chain's evolution.
Alright guys, we are back once again in the blistering cold snow. And seriously, the snow is really coming down right now. It's pretty crazy, but nonetheless, we got to continue on with the journey. And before I show you what I got at the original Dunkin Donuts location, you know, item number 9, I do just want to tell you where we're at right now, and that is the iconic Adams National Historical Park here in the city of Quincy, Massachusetts, in Norfolk County. Now, Adams National Historical Park is dedicated to 2 of our former presidents. Second President of the United States, John Adams, who was also a founding father, and 6th President of the United States, John Quincy Adams, which was actually John Adams' son. They're the first father-son presidential duo, and 2 of the most important early presidents we've had in the country. They both grew up in this site, and they're also both born in this site. I can't remember whose birthplace this is right behind me, but this is one of their birthplaces. I'll include it down below. But before we get into it, before I show you what I got at the original Dunkin Donuts location, I do just want to tell you a little bit about John Adams and John Quincy Adams and the Adams National Historical Park, and then we'll get into it.
Adams National Historical Park is dedicated to the preservation of the birthplace homes of both John Adams, the 2nd President of the United States, and his son John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, as well as other Adams family members. John Adams was born in this saltbox home on October 30th, 1735, although the house itself was built in 1681. Adams himself lived here until 1764, when he married his wife and future First Lady, Abigail Smith. Adams, of course, is one of the most important figures in American history, having been one of the founding fathers active during the American Revolution. He was a Massachusetts delegate in the Continental Congress and aided in drafting both the Declaration of Independence in 1776, as well as the Massachusetts Constitution in 1780, which influenced the United States Constitution. Of course, Adams was also the country's first vice president under George Washington between 1789 and 1797, and the second U.S. president between 1797 and 1801. His son, John Quincy Adams, was born in this saltbox home on July 11, 1767, with the house itself originally built in 1663 and expanded upon throughout the 1700s. Like his father, John Quincy Adams served as the 6th U.S. president between 1825 and 1829, but before that he had served as Secretary of State between 1817 and 1825 under James Monroe. He also served in Congress as a Massachusetts representative before and after his presidency. Not only are both Adamses the first father-son duo to serve as U.S. presidents, but they shared several political similarities, from being staunch abolitionists to only serving one term each. Both birthplaces are open to the public and can be toured during the summer months, but definitely note that the Adams National Historical Park is home to far more buildings and homes affiliated with the Adams family.
All right, guys, so in honor of John Adams and John Quincy Adams, two of the founding father goats of the United States, I'm going to show you what I got at the OG Dunkin Donuts here in Quincy. And that, of course, is the iconic, the well-known iced coffee. Now, look, as I said, I'm really not a big coffee guy. I don't like coffee. I never drink coffee. I never order coffee. I know I'm not going to like this. But it was the original Dunkin Donuts location. What are you going to do? I mean, what else would I get? It's the OG. You got to get the OG drink, the iced coffee. Everyone in New England, everyone in Massachusetts, they always order the iced coffees. They call it an iced regular. Can I get an iced regular? So that's what I got, an iced coffee. Let's try it out. Again, I know I'm not going to like it, but I got to do it. Oh, that is bitter. Ugh. I got cream and sugar, and this is still bitter. I don't know, guys. I think it's safe to say coffee is just not for me. Iced coffee, black coffee, whatever, but I tried it. You know, again, it's the OG Dunks, and this is like the most iconic item that they sell. Not for me. Not for me. I don't know, what would the founding fathers think? Here I am in Massachusetts, a masshole myself, who doesn't like Dunk's iced coffee. Shameful. Oh yeah, and by the way, that is Norfolk County, number 9. So we're done with Norfolk County. On to the next one.
With the snow still coming down, I hopped on Massachusetts Route 3 and worked my way further south towards Plymouth County, our next stop. Named for the town of Plymouth, which itself is named for the city of Plymouth in England, Plymouth County boasts some of the oldest settlements in Massachusetts. The county seats are Brockton, its largest city, and Plymouth, its namesake town, and my intended next stop. I eventually arrived in the town of Plymouth, the state's largest municipality by area, eager to get a move on. My 10th Dunkin Donuts was another location inside a gas station, making it the second gas station Dunks of the journey thus far. I quickly headed inside and made my order, which felt like routine clockwork by now. Also, despite the small size of this location, more donuts on display. It never gets old.
Alright guys, I'm back again, but I don't have a tripod this time, and that's because for this next section, I need you guys to be here with me and really feel this experience, because this is by far, without a doubt, the most important landmark that I'm going to be checking out in this video. I mean, this is like truly crucial. Every single citizen of Massachusetts needs to take a pilgrimage here at least once in their life, and that of course is Plymouth Rock. The iconic Plymouth Rock, where the Pilgrims landed in 1620 and founded the Plymouth Colony, here in the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts, in Plymouth County. Listen guys, if you've never been to Plymouth Rock, you're missing out. Look at this thing. You see it? It's not just a boulder, it's a rock. This is the most important site in Massachusetts, and I really need to give it the time and dedication it deserves.
In December 1620, the Mayflower landed in what would soon become Plymouth, leading to the founding of Plymouth Colony by the Pilgrims. Having left England just a few months prior, the Pilgrims were Protestant separatists fleeing religious persecution due to their support of separation from the Church of England. After exploring what would soon become Cape Cod, they eventually settled in Plymouth permanently, an area that was already inhabited by indigenous peoples, specifically the Wampanoag. Now, interestingly, Plymouth Rock itself was never recorded or documented by the Pilgrims during the early days of settlement. The first recorded reference that claimed the rock as the landing point of the Pilgrims was in 1741 by Thomas Founts, a church elder. Attempting to save the supposed historical rock from being buried under a new wharf, Founts argued that this was the very rock where the Pilgrims had first landed in 1620, and at the time, his claims held weight. His father arrived in Plymouth Colony in 1623, and he himself was born in 1647, a direct witness to the days of the Pilgrims. However, in the following centuries since Founts' claims were made, many have doubted the authenticity of Plymouth Rock as the true landing site of the Mayflower. Today, the rock is seen more as a fictitious myth and a symbol, rather than a verified historical artifact. Still, it is one of the premier attractions here in Plymouth, guarded by an iron gate and surrounded by an ornate granite portico, where it was moved for the final time in 1920. However, it had been moved several times before then, even resulting in a significant crack in 1774.
Alright guys, and now that you've witnessed the majesty of Plymouth Rock here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, I think now it's only right to check out Dunkin Donuts menu item number 10. This is going to be the very first time someone has ever eaten a bacon, egg, and cheese on a plain bagel in front of Plymouth Rock. And of course, that is what I ordered. Bacon, egg, and cheese on a plain bagel. I was honestly kind of in the mood for a sandwich. I haven't gone one since yesterday, so let's check it out. Let me just open this really quick. Here it is. Bacon, egg, and cheese, plain bagel. Looks like a little bit of the cheese got up there. All right, you guys know the rule. One bite. That is indeed a sandwich. That's what this is. This is a breakfast sandwich. That's about all I have to say. But that also means Plymouth County officially complete. We did it. On to the next one. This is a crazy image, by the way. Me at Plymouth Rock eating a Dunkin Donuts sandwich.
Luckily, the snowfall had ceased entirely, and I was back on the road, headed towards my second to last stop of the trip, Bristol County. Interestingly, this county was named for the town of Bristol, which is now in Rhode Island, itself named after the English city of Bristol. While the county seat is Taunton, I'll be heading to the largest city, New Bedford, a port city famous for its storied whaling industry. Anyways, I continued driving west along I-195 before reaching the city of New Bedford, ready to go. My 11th Dunks was another standalone, modern-looking one, by far one of the largest franchises of the trip thus far. This was also one of the most visually striking Dunks, at least architecturally, so that was a cool plus. Anyways, I went inside, picked up my order, and left, trying to make the most of the minimal daylight I had left.
Alright guys, I am back once again, but before I show you what I ordered for item number 11, I do want to show you where we're going to be filming this segment at. And as you can see by the massive fort directly behind me, we are currently here at Fort Taber Park in the city of New Bedford, Massachusetts in Bristol County. Now I absolutely love Fort Taber Park. If you didn't see it already, I actually filmed a large video here last fall. So if you want to see more details and exploring the site more in depth, definitely check out that video on Fort Taber Park. Shameless plug. But we are currently standing in front of Fort Rodman. Fort Rodman was built all the way back in 1857, but the namesake Fort Taber itself was built just a few years later in 1861. Once again, I will go into a little bit more of the history regarding Fort Rodman and Fort Taber, and then we'll get right into it.
Situated at the very southern tip of New Bedford, the ruins of several now abandoned fortifications and batteries lay dormant, open to the public to explore. Here in Fort Taber Park, the ruins of both Fort Rodman and Fort Taber can be found, although the former has a much more storied history. Fort Rodman, the largest structure in the park, was built between 1857 and 1871, although a much smaller earthworks fort, Fort Taber, was constructed in 1861 to defend the other work-in-progress fort during the Civil War. Standing at 3 levels, with 72 cannon emplacements, Fort Rodman was an imposing structure, guarding the mouth of the Acushnet River and the crucial New Bedford Harbor from enemy naval attacks. By 1898, during a time known as the Endicott period, Fort Rodman received major renovations and refurbishments, with new additional batteries constructed around the site. Between 1898 and 1902, 5 new batteries were built, including Battery Walcott, Battery Barden, Battery Cross, Battery Craig, and Battery Gaston, all armed and manned. By World War I, another battery was built between 1917 and 1921, known as Battery Milliken, which is by far the largest battery on the premises. Fort Rodman and its batteries were armed well into World War II, even receiving further upgrades and additions, from a new unnamed battery to barracks for more troops. After the war, the fort was disarmed and liquidated entirely by 1948, and closed permanently in the 1970s. Today, many of the remnants of Fort Rodman have been left behind, accessible to the public to explore, both inside and out, although the central structure of Fort Rodman itself has been closed since 2016.
All right, without further ado, you guys know the drill now. I got Dunkin Donuts menu item number 11. The penultimate item. We're almost there, the end of the journey. This is one of the strangest orders I've had so far, something I've never had before. It's the loaded hash browns. It's kind of in this little cup. I think it's literally just Dunkin Donuts hash browns with like cheese sauce or something. Again, I've never had this before. My expectations are low. But let's check it out. This is what it looks like. Look at that. It's bacon on it too, bacon bits. Cheese, bacon bits, and hash browns. All right, let's try this right in front of 19th century military Fort Rodman. I'm eating loaded hash browns. Let's see what we got going on here. It's not horrible, but it's tastes very fake, very artificial. I will say one thing that's interesting about this, it has a bit of a spicy kick to it. I wasn't expecting that. It has a little bit of a flair to it. That's interesting, but yeah, not horrible, to be honest. Would I go out of my way for this? No, but yeah, loaded hash browns. And that's number 11, and that's Bristol County. Bristol County officially completed, and on to our final county, coming up next.
With the sun starting to set and the day quickly drawing to a close, I only had a brief window to get to my last stop, which was Barnstable County. This county is made up entirely of Cape Cod, with the name derived from the town of Barnstable, the county seat and largest town, which itself is named after the English town of Barnstable. Being situated on a long cape, Barnstable County is entirely surrounded by ocean, and Cape Cod is famous for its quaint beach towns and coastline. As I drove east along US Route 6 on the Cape, I tried to beat the clock for my final destination. The very last Dunkin Donuts I visited on this journey, number 12 to be specific, was located in a quaint Cape Cod-style strip mall in the town of Orleans. Being so late in the day, the sun was really starting to set, so I quickly ran inside and ordered my final Dunkin Donuts menu item. Truly the end of an era.
Well guys, it's official. We've made it to the 12th and final Massachusetts county for this journey. And that also means that I'll have my 12th and final Dunkin Donuts menu item ready to go very shortly. But we are going to be ending this journey off on a bang, because as you can see behind me, we're currently standing in front of one of the most iconic and famous landmarks in all of Massachusetts. And that of course is the Nauset Beach Lighthouse here in the town of beautiful Eastham, Massachusetts in Barnstable County. Now, the Nauset Beach Light is, again, one of the most iconic landmarks and lighthouses here in the state of Massachusetts. If anything, you're probably familiar with it from the Cape Cod potato chips brand. I'll show a picture right now, but as you can see, the Cape Cod potato chips actually has the Nauset Beach Light on its label. And to this day, this is still one of the most famous lighthouses in all of Massachusetts. Once again, we will get into a little bit more of the details and history, and then I'll show you what I got from Dunkin Donuts for the final time. But it's an interesting one, and again, one of my personal favorite lighthouses.
While it is located in the town of Eastham today, the Nauset Beach Light was originally located in nearby Chatham. Built in 1877, it was only moved from Chatham to Eastham in 1923, replacing the Three Sisters of Nauset lighthouses, which were 3 small lighthouses that were already on the site, no longer in use. The lighthouse's most iconic characteristic is its half-red, half-white paint job, but up until the 1940s, it was all white. The last lighthouse keeper at Nauset Beach Light left in the early 1950s, and in 1955, the lighthouse was officially automated. In 1996, the lighthouse was moved 336 feet away from its original cliffside location due to severe coastal erosion, and it now sits on a much safer spot, further from the wrath of the sea. In 1998, the lighthouse keeper's home was moved from the eroded cliff as well. Today, the lighthouse is located next to the namesake Nauset Light Beach, part of the Cape Cod National Seashore. It's open to the public, with the lighthouse, the keeper's house, and the oil house all still intact and on display. The Nauset Beach Light, which stands at 48 feet or 15 meters tall, is by far one of the most recognizable lighthouses in all of New England, and an iconic symbol of Cape Cod and the Massachusetts coast.
And with that being said, let's just cut right to the chase. The 12th and final Dunkin Donuts menu item here at the 12th and final Massachusetts County, Barnstable County. And that, of course, is a mango pineapple lemonade refresher. I've actually had a refresher from Dunkin Donuts before, but I believe this is the first time I've tried this specific flavor. So let's check it out. Wow, that's actually fire. I'm not gonna lie, this might be the best thing of the entire trip. If not the best, then at least top 2 or top 3. Wow, this is pretty good. Mango pineapple lemonade refresher. I will say we're definitely ending things on a pretty high note. This is one of the few banger items I've gotten from Dunkin Donuts. And then once again, a beautiful, iconic lighthouse. What more could you ask for? And that's it for Barnstable County, and that's it for the 12 Massachusetts counties. Now, once again, we haven't officially gone to every single Massachusetts county. Of course, we didn't go to Dukes County or Nantucket County, but neither of those have Dunkin Donuts. So excluding those two, we've otherwise been to 12 Massachusetts counties, 12 out of 14 entirety. That's pretty damn good, all in the span of a weekend. And in each county, we had a new item from Dunkin Donuts. Wild stuff. So anyways, guys, I'm going to end it off here. I'm going to have a little bit of an outro where I discuss the entire journey, the logistics, my thoughts, my feelings, how it was. And then we're going to end off the video. So catch you guys in a moment. See ya.
So yeah, that's the end of the challenge. 12 Dunkin Donuts locations, 12 Dunkin Donuts menu items, in 12 Massachusetts counties, from west to east, all in 2 days. Now, I'll try to keep this outro brief for the sake of time. This video is already well over an hour anyways. Firstly, has my view of Dunkin Donuts changed at all after this challenge, and after consuming so many of their products? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, Dunkin Donuts is a corporate chain, and the quality of their food and drinks is objectively low in order to maximize financial profit. I get that Dunks is sort of a cultural meme here in Massachusetts, but honestly, there are just so many better local coffee shops, bakeries, and cafes in the state. And don't say it's about the price either, because Dunks is quite expensive now. Moral of the story, shop and eat local, and don't just rely on corporate chains for your food and drinks. Get some high-quality eats from a local mom-and-pop shop. I guarantee the things you order will be much better, and you'll also be supporting the local community rather than a multi-billion-dollar company. Secondly, this video is but a sample of the immense historical and cultural landmarks to visit here in the great state of Massachusetts. As you saw, in each county, I visited a location that has inherent significant value to not just the state, but the country. Massachusetts is a deeply historical state. This is a state of US presidents, of influential authors, of industrial innovation, of military strength, and of watershed moments in the story of the US, all of which we saw in this single journey. The amount of influence this one small state has had on the entire country is incredible. Also, to be honest, I was struggling to even decide what landmark to pick for each county. There truly was a lot of competition, and there were so many other sites I was interested in choosing. I hope, if anything, this journey showed you just how much there is to see and do here in Mass, let alone in each county. So if you ever hear somebody say, "I hate Massachusetts, there's nothing to do here," tell them to go fuck themselves and prove them wrong. Anyways, I'll end off by quickly ranking all 12 Dunks items I had during this challenge, rapid fire. In dead last place at number 12, I have the iced matcha latte. It was just pretty nasty and not for me. At number 11, I have the iced coffee. Again, just not a coffee guy, I'm sorry. Way too bitter and watery and gross. At number 10, I have the loaded hash browns, which were just plain bad. At number 9, I have the ham and cheese croissant stuffer, which had a weird aftertaste I hated. At number 8, I have the plain bagel with cream cheese, bland and flavorless. Number 7 is the bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel, which makes me think I just don't like Dunk's bagels. Number 6 is the wake-up wrap, which was mediocre but not a bad snack. Number 5 is the vanilla frosted donut with sprinkles, the true neutral menu item. At number 4, I had the bacon, egg, and cheese croissant. Nothing amazing, but my go-to sandwich order. Number 3 is the Boston cream donut, an absolute classic. At number 2, I had to go with the frozen hot chocolate, which is very sweet but also very tasty. And my absolute favorite Dunk's order of the challenge, at the number 1 spot, is the mango pineapple lemonade refresher. Honestly, that was a banger, and probably the only drink from Dunk's I could see myself going out of my way to order. That being said, my stomach was truly devastated after eating all this crap for this challenge.
Hey guys, it's me again out here in Eastham, Massachusetts on the beautiful Cape Cod National Seashore. I just wrapped up the Dunkin Donuts challenge and now I'm just enjoying the beautiful ocean views. As you can see, the sun is setting, the sky is getting pretty colorful, and the waves are crashing. I'm sorry if it's very loud with all the crashing waves and the wind. Hopefully you guys can hear me. But I just wanted to jump in one last time to say thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. I truly appreciate it. This was a crazy challenge. I've never done anything like this before. I went to every Massachusetts county, -2 of course, and went to a Dunkin Donuts in each one. Got a different menu item in each one. Crazy challenge. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more challenges like this here in Massachusetts and the other New England states, I already have a few on my channel up now, and I definitely plan on doing more in the future. So definitely stay tuned and also check out my previous challenges. So yeah, definitely stick around on the channel. I do want to give a major shout out to all my channel members. You can see them all right here. You guys are awesome. And I'd love it if you too, viewer of this very video, consider becoming a channel member as well. You'd be supporting me and the channel directly, and I truly appreciate it. Or you can follow me on Instagram at JMassOfficial. That's at JMassOfficial. But I've been JMass as always. Massachusetts counties, Dunkin Donuts. What more could you need? I'm gonna end the day off at this beautiful beach right now, and I will catch you guys on the next one. By the way, I cannot wait for summer. It's freezing cold right now. I gotta bring out the gloves because my hands were getting so cold. Can it just be summer already? I mean, I want to go to the beach in the warm sun, and oh, I miss it. A few more months, guys. Hang in there. All right, catch y'all in the next one. See ya.